Respiratory System. The respiratory system is a biological system consisting of specific organs and structures used for gas exchange in animals and plants. The anatomy and physiology that make this happen varies greatly, depending on the size of the organism, the environment in which it lives, and its evolutionary history.
The nasal cavity. The nasal cavity is the inside of your nose. It is lined with a mucous membrane that helps keep your nose moist by making mucus so you won't get nosebleed from a dry nose. There are also little hairs that help filter the air you breathe in, blocking dirt and dust from getting into your lungs. Signs and symptoms of paranasal sinus and nasal cavity cancer include sinus problems and nosebleed. Blocked sinuses that do not clear or sinus pressure, headaches or pain in the sinus areas, a runny nose, nosebleeds, a lump or sore inside the nose that doesn't not heal, a lump on the face or roof of the mouth. Oral cavity. The mouth or oral cavity is the first part of the digestive tract. It is adapted to receive food by ingestion, break it into small particles by mastication, and mix it with saliva. The oral cavity contains the teeth and tongue and receives the secretions from the salivary glands. Oral cavity symptoms: pain in the mouth that doesn't go away, a lump or thickening in the lips or mouth or cheek, a white or red patch on the gums, tongue, tonsil or lining of the mouth, a sore throat of a feeling that something is caught in your throat that doesn't go away.
The tongue is a muscular organ in the mouth. The tongue is covered with moist, pink tissue called mucosa. Tiny bumps called papillae give the tongue its rough texture. Thousands of taste buds cover the surfaces of the papillae. Function of the tongue. The tongue is vital for chewing and swallowing food, as well as for speech. The tongue is a mass of muscles covered by a mucous membrane that is important for taste sensation. Beyond its obvious role in eating, manipulating food into bowls and can be safely passed into the throat with swallowing. It has also a vital contribution to speech and may even affect breathing, especially in sleep. Trachea is a large membranous tube reinforced by rings of cartilage extending from the larynx to the bronchial tubes and conveying air to and from the lungs, the windpipe. Function of trachea. The primary function of trachea is to transport air to and from the lungs. Without a trachea, a person would not be able to breathe. In addition to transporting air, the trachea helps defend against disease. The mucus in the trachea helps capture microorganisms such as viruses and harmful bacteria before they enter the lungs. The trachea also helps regulate the temperature of the air coming in and out of the lungs. On cold days, the trachea helps warm and provide humidity to the air before it reaches the lungs. On hot days, the trachea helps cool the air through evaporation. The pleura is a vital part of the respiratory tract whose role it is to cushion the lungs and reduce any friction which may develop between the lungs, rib cage, and chest cavity. The pleura consists of a two-layered membrane that covers each lungs. The layers are separated by a small amount of viscous lubricant known as pleural fluid. Function of pleura. The structure of the pleura is essential to respiration, providing the lungs with the lubrication and cushioning needed to inhale and exhale. The interpleural space contains roughly 4 cubic centimeters to 5 cubic centimeters of pleural fluid, which reduces friction whenever the lungs expand or contract. The pleural fluid itself has a slightly adhesive quality that helps draw the lungs outward during inhalation rather than slipping around in the chest cavity. In addition, pleural fluid creates surface tension that helps maintain the position of the lungs against the chest wall.
Humans have two lungs, a right lung and a left lung. They are situated within the thoracic cavity of the chest. The right lung is bigger than the left, which shares space in the chest with the heart. There are two differences between the right and left lung. The right and left lung differ in size and shape to accommodate other organs that encroach on the thoracic region. The right lung consists of the 3 lobes and is shorter than the left lung, due to the position of the liver underneath it. The left lung consists of the two lobels and is longer and narrower than the right lung. Can we live with one lung? Most people can get by with one lung instead of two if needed. Usually, one lung can provide enough oxygen and remove enough carbon dioxide unless the other lung is damaged. What is diaphragm? The diaphragm is a thin skeletal muscle that sits at the base of the chest and separates the abdomen from the chest. It contracts and flattens when you inhale. This creates a vacuum effect that pulls air into the lungs. The diaphragm increases abdominal pressure to help the body get rid of vomit, urine, and feces.
Pharynx. The pharynx is most commonly referred to as the throat. It is a muscular tube that starts at the base of the skull behind the nasal cavity and extends down to the larynx and esophagus. Its primary function serves both the respiratory system by taking in air from the nasal cavity as well as the digestive system by taking food and drink from the oral cavity. The pharynx is also what helps you speak, as the muscles from the pharynx vibrate to help you produce sound. The pharynx consists of three major sections: the nasopharynx, the oropharynx, and the laryngopharynx. These sections are in order down the pharynx, as the nasopharynx is the top part of the throat, located behind the nasal cavity. The oropharynx makes up the middle part behind the oral cavity, and the laryngopharynx as the bottom piece, which is behind the larynx, commonly referred to as the voice box. The pharynx as a whole is about 5 centimeters long, while the tube is largely hard tissues. Some areas like the oropharynx consist of soft tissues. Epiglottis. The epiglottis is a cartilaginous flap that extends in front and above the laryngeal inlet, or more specifically, the rhimaglottis. The function of the epiglottis is to close the laryngeal inlet during swallowing, and so to prevent the passage of food and liquid into the lungs, also called as aspiration. This is why we can't and we should not try to talk and breathe while swallowing. The epiglottis is located in the larynx and is attached to the thyroid cartilage and hyoid bone. Its movements are regulated by the passive pressure from the tongue as it pushes the food down to the pharynx, as well as by the contractions of the epiglottic muscle.
Larynx is part of our respiratory system. It is a hollow tube that lets air pass from our throat to our trachea on the way to our lungs. It also contains our vocal cords and is essential to human speech, so it's often called the voice box. Its tube about 2 inches long in adults and sits about the windpipe in the neck and in front of the foodpipe or esophagus. The bronchi or bronchus are the two larger tubes that carry air from our windpipe to our lungs. We have left and right main bronchus in each lung. After the main bronchi, these tubes branch out into segments that look like 3 branches. Many respiratory conditions, such as asthma, bronchitis, can affect our bronchi.
Ways to have a good healthy respiratory system. The Philippines is celebrating National Lung Month this August. And what a perfect time indeed to remind oneself of tips on how to take care of your respiratory and circulatory system. If you're looking for healthy habits you can do at home, here are tips from our respiratory health experts to improve your respiratory system. Incorporate daily breathing exercise. Perform cardiovascular exercises. Practice safe hygiene for healthy lungs. Ease yourself into quitting smoking for good. Avoid unhealthy habits and take care of your mental health. Follow a balanced diet. Protect yourself from air pollution. Consult with your doctor regularly. Here are some ways to keep your lungs healthy. Don't smoke. Avoid exposure to indoor pollutants that can damage your lungs. minimize exposure to outdoor air pollution, prevent infection, get regular checkups, and also exercise.